Szanowni Państwo, witamy bardzo
Ladies
serdecznie.
and gentlemen,
Rozpoczynamy kolejne
welcome.
spotkanie z członkami
Let's
Państwowej
begin
Komisji
yet another
Wyborczej.
meeting with the members of the National Electoral
O
Commission.
rozpoczęcie konferencji proszę pana
I'd
ministra
like to give the floor to
Czaplickiego.
Minister Czaplicki to open the
Pana
conference.
przewodniczącego.
Witam Państwa serdecznie
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen,
na kolejnej
at
konferencji.
yet another
Chciałem przy Państwu
press
przekazać
conference.
taką oto
I
informację.
would like
Po
to
pierwsze,
provide you with the following information.
zostały
First of all,
usunięte usterki w systemie
the
informatycznym.
errors in the
Komisje
IT systems have been repaired.
Pracują
The commissions are
w końcowej
working.
fazie ustalania wyników
They
głosowania.
are in the final phase of
Wybory na burmistrza
counting the results as far as the elections for the positions of mayors and presidents of
Mamy w
cities
wielu
and
miastach
commune heads.
zakończone już
In many of the cities,
ustalanie wyników.
the results have been fully calculated already.
Informacje jesteśmy w stanie Państwu
So
podać
this
tam,
is the information we can give you,
na podstawie 100%
where
protokołów
in those cases where the results have been established based on 100% of the reports.
poprzednio, ale także w innych miastach.
So not only for the largest cities, but also for other cities.
No i mamy nadzieję, że
And we hope that,
możliwe, że w późnych godzinach
well,
wieczornych
hopefully
dzisiaj
late
będzie
at
możliwe
night,
podanie
tonight,
podanie
we'll be able to
oficjalnych
give you
wyników.
official results of the elections.
To tyle z naszej strony takiego bieżącego komunikatu.
Well, this is basically all
Bardzo
we
prosimy o
wanted to tell
zadawanie
you.
pytań, żeby było
Let's
zgrabnie.
have
Od prawej
questions,
strony proszę sobie podawać
starting from the right.
Dzień dobry, witam Łukasz Konarski. Radio
Good
Z.
morning,
Mam takie
Łukasz
pytanie, czy
Konarski from
panowie
Radio
zamierzają
Z.
podać się do dymisji po
Are you
tej ewidentnej
going to
wpadce,
resign
która nastąpiła?
after this
Czy jakieś
definite
konsekwencje personalne
fault that
ewentualnie
has happened?
zamierzają
Or
panowie
are you,
wyciągnąć?
will there be any disciplinary consequences
Zastanawiamy się nad
taken?
jak
Well,
zakończyć głosowanie.
right now we are thinking about how to complete the process. We are working really hard
Najszybszego
in order to
ogłoszenia wyników.
announce the results of the elections as soon as possible. Well, on my side, there is a lot of information about me in the mass media. I understand that you've looked at me for a long time already, but please be patient. Well, will there be any consequences drawn? Well, I said what I wanted to say. As far as I am concerned, just show a little bit of patience. We just want to complete these elections. Dorota Piotrowska from Polish Radio. I would like to ask whether this IT system is definitely working everywhere, because we get information that that there is a problem in Warmia and Mazuria, for example, with logging into the system. So is it possible to count the votes everywhere, and are all the commissions back and working? Well, the definite majority of the commissions are already working. Very many of them. I can't tell you the exact number because there are thousands of them. Many of them started working at 6 a.m. From the information that we received from the constituencies, and I've seen that on TV also, some of the commissions complain that the system is not working. And here we would like to clarify the situation, because our IT specialists say that everything is okay, but some heads of the commission say that it's not working. Soon Mr. Drapiński should join us here, so he'll tell you exactly what is happening. But according to us, the system should be operating correctly, allowing printing, etc. But there is a problem which you should also be aware of. In order to prepare the printouts for the voivodeship assemblies, it's necessary to get the appropriate reports from the lowest level of the polling stations, and then the powiat level has to be taken care of, and then the voivodeship level. So this is the longer road. Now, the results for the assemblies, voting assemblies, will be known when all those lower level reports are received and then sent to the National Commission. In 2010, the results of the elections were given officially at 10:45 on Tuesday, 10:45 p.m. Now we have Tuesday morning, so I don't understand all this problem that you're raising, that the results are not available yet. This is quite a natural process. Ladies and gentlemen, at 2 a.m. we restored the full operation of the system. Starting from 6 a.m., some of the territorial electoral commissions started working on the results, and some of them submitted requests to improve some sorting, for example, functionalities. And this is happening, yes, but I can tell you that approximately 250 to 160 results are processed by the system at one time. If there are any faults discovered, there is a procedure. Maybe the territorial commissions have not received full information. In those cases where there are mistakes in the printouts, then the representative of the electoral commissioner has to correct the wrong printouts. It's just necessary to press one button. But there are no errors related to the results of the voting or results of the elections. It's just about sorting according to constituencies, according to electoral lists, etc. In the case of these elections, we have 4 to 6 types of reports. Each kind of election needs different configuration and different sorting of data. Most of those errors have already been corrected, but there is still the need for cooperation between the commissioner's representative. The number of territorial electoral commissions is 2,900. Plenipotentiaries or representatives of electoral commissioners work in the number of 49. So this is not a big number, actually. So it's just necessary to get in touch with such a representative if there are any problems with sorting, and then it's possible to correct the printout. As I've said, this work proceeds on the server on the current basis. Mariusz Piekarski from RFM Radio. So if anything needs to be corrected or improved, then this means that the system is not fully operational. And we've also got signals that it's not possible to enter all the data into the system. The appendices, for example, do not get attached. Do you get these signals also? Yeah, this is the problem of the communication error. The previously calculated, counted results of the vote had certain errors regarding different sorting of data in the reports, for example. So in order to improve and correct these mistakes, the representative of the commissioner allows a possibility to correct this sorting. Anna Krawczyk, Polsat TV. Don't you really feel responsible for the situation that has occurred? Didn't you have any doubts about that IT system, considering the time for the development of the system and the amount that was paid for it? Could you remind us, please, what the cost of the system was and how much time you had? Well, a lot of information about that has already been provided. Immediately after the elections are over, a detailed report will be drafted informing about the entire procedure connected with the software development, implementation, and then operation of the system during the elections. From the information that you already have, you can say that as a result of the fact that the concept of the development of software for all types of elections that was undertaken at the beginning of the year actually failed because the tender procedure had to be invalidated. We had the situation in which, while the elections to the European Parliament were approaching and we needed to develop a system for those elections, and at the same time, separate software started being developed for the local elections. So two types of elections overlapped: the elections to the European Parliament and the need to prepare the IT infrastructure for the European Parliament elections, and also the process of preparation for the software and IT infrastructure for the current local government elections. An entity was selected to perform the order, but it was already very late. It was in May. I mean, the tender procedure was announced in May. And then in August, the software developer was selected and started the work on the software. And all the time, very intense work was going on. We cooperated with the software development in order to be ready with the software for these elections. The software has been developed, and tests have been conducted. The tests disclosed certain faults in the system. The faults were repaired. A different company evaluated and assessed the system, and that company said that the software was good, that it should be work properly during the elections. And now what has happened, you can see. And actually, we are the ones who feel it very strongly that during while using the software for the election process, more faults of the systems have been identified, which needed to be corrected in the process of using the software, the system. From the information that you have received, as far as I remember, the value of the contracts for the software development was more than 400,000 zlotys. As we've emphasized many times, for years already, the National Electoral Office and the National Electoral Committee wanted to change the process of selecting the software developer and also the entity to print the ballot papers, etc. We wanted to quit the public procurement procedure that had to be followed. Well, unfortunately, we were not able to achieve our goal here. We were not allowed to select just the company that we wanted to select.
Dzień dobry, Sylwia
That would
Czubkowska,
guarantee
Dziennik Gazeta Prawna.
good software.
Panowie wspominacie tam przed roku na Platformie
Dziennik Gazeta
Wyborczej 2.0.
Prawna. You mentioned the process for the electoral platform 2.0.
w zamówieniach publicznych.
In that case, the tender procedure that was invalidated, it infringed several important provisions of the public procurement law. And also, who was the auditor assessing the system? And where did you get the idea that the tender procedures should be should not be applied by the National Electoral Commission? What is the difference between your procurement process and the process implemented by other ministries or central offices? Well, as far as the last question is concerned, most of the state institutions use their software for the day-to-day operation, administration works, etc. In our case, we're talking about security of the state. You've quoted the opinion of the Anti-Monopoly Office, but we also referred to the opinions of the Internal Security Agency, which decided that safety and security of the election process is part of the state security. So, of course, all public procurement process is subject to supervision. It's not that we want to pick any software developer that we want. We would like to find a software developer that would be fully competent to prepare software in order to avoid situations in which just before the elections we need to introduce corrections. Well, you must know that many central offices, state offices, also complain about this procedure of public procurement that needs to be followed in the case of purchases of IT systems. As far as the audit is concerned and system development, let me say two more things. In October last year, we wanted to announce a big tender procedure for a development of an integrated platform for the electoral process. Yes, there have been certain infringements and the tender procedure had to be invalidated. Then it was necessary to prepare software for the European Parliament elections, then the additional elections to the Senate, and then the elections to local governments. And having to do that in such a short time, analysts and experts and IT specialists know very well that it's very difficult to develop such a system in the period of 3 to 4 months. So the National Electoral Office made a decision that a large part of the IT system will have to be prepared internally. The registration of the election committees, candidates, the electoral constituencies, then electoral districts, etc. All that has been worked on internally, and this system has worked since the elections to the European Parliament. So we actually ordered the electoral calculator and the system for counting the results. These are two important modules, but this is not like a very extensive and complex system. During the additional elections, supplementary elections to the Senate, the system, parts of the system already were used and they worked. The whole construction of the electoral calculator and exchange of data was, as I've said, already used during the elections to the Senate. Now, this tool, the electoral calculator, really worked. Our concept was that all the external data concerning the list of the candidates, the list of constituencies and districts, polling districts, and the correctness of the entire process are the responsibility of the National Electoral Office, and an external company would only provide us with the kind of an engine for the system where the users could enter the data. But the back end is the responsibility of the National Electoral Office. And that's why we had this possibility to prepare the system for such difficult elections as the recent ones in such a short time. So, as I've said, the electoral calculation serves the purpose of entering the results in the polling stations, by the district electoral committees, and then sending them to the upper levels. At the end of the work, the National Electoral Commission ordered us to conduct tests in terms of the security of the system and correctness of calculation of the elections, results of the elections. And this scope of testing was very positive. I mean, in terms of algorithms, for example, to calculate the voting result. The results of the tests have been positive. The company that checked the source code and tested the system was Eversys. So Eversys was the auditor. Radio Tok FM, do you get any signals about members of electoral commissions that refused to count the votes manually? So this is my first question. Could we please have an answer? As far as the procedure of manual counting of votes, I would like to say that there is no such concept that, for example, the Powiat Electoral Commission is going to enter the results to some other IT tool, for example, a spreadsheet. No, the electronic data from all the reports have already been entered to the system. So just checking the results may consist in the following process, that if calculation of the results failed, the comparison would have to be made. And so it's a very simple procedure to be followed if you want to calculate the elections results based on the aggregate results from the lower level commissions. And you don't really need to be an IT specialist to do so. It's pretty easy to divide the total number and divide them by 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then assigning the mandates to the list. This is a very simple procedures, provided that we have the voting results if the constituencies. So no manual counting is necessary, because the commissions have the constituency aggregates, and they can check whether the mandates have been distributed properly. Well, you answered a question regarding the procedure, but I asked a question whether the members of the commissions refused to apply this alternative mode of work. So this is the first question. There is a comment by Marek Makowski, an IT specialist, a programmer, regarding the security of the system or the program or software to be used by the electoral commissions. And actually, you can log into the system that can be generated quite easily by OpenSSL. And using the data contained in the instruction, a member of the commission can generate a key, and you can log in as a member of any other commission. So you can log in as any person, also from outside, and you could correct, manipulate the reports that are already entered in the computers. If there are any hard warnings in the protocol, you can get the code from the user at the level of the branch office. So this is one thing, and there is also a comment. Any security was only guaranteed by the physical control of access to the computer by the heads of the commissions, and by checking, by the head of the commission checking everything. The person knowing the source code of the program also knew the code to authorize the errors. And the source code was available on the internet a day before the elections, and the information sent to the server do not require any authorization. How would you react to that? Quite a lot of accusations. It's really hard for me to respond to something that is far from the subject matter content. There is a procedure as far as the digital key generation is concerned. A possibility to apply for such a license is provided by the Territorial Electoral Commission, so it's not that everybody can generate such a key based on the OpenSSL. It's only the person who gets a one-time password and login to receive such a license. It's hard for me to respond to the rest of your remark, but I would like to tell you that the number, it's not possible to change the data, because each source report is signed by the digital license of the chairperson of the district commission, who could apply for the license from the Territorial Commission. So this is the organization situated in one city or one municipality or commune. And actually, the elections results are established based on the papers received from individual polling stations and commissions, and they are already verified at the higher level. So it's really hard for me to refer to your accusation or charge regarding the security. We haven't had any interference, not a single one, in that respect. It is not possible to change one bit, not to mention not the number of votes entered. The document would cease to exist as an electronic document, and it wouldn't be taken into account for calculation. But still, we have the paper document signed by members of the electoral commissions. Rafał Niatowski from TVN24. Well, following the same path, let me ask more questions, because we've received information from Poznań and Nidzica. There, it's not possible to send the data into the system. Did you get those signals too? And I would like to ask you about the implementation of the system. To what extent was the external company responsible for the system implementation? I mean, they brought the system and told you to switch on the system and start using it, and to what extent was that the responsibility of the IT office or department of the National Electoral Commission? And, people counted the votes from the protocols and from the reports and had to wait for the system to start operating. Can those people from the district commissions count on any additional remuneration for their work? Well, apart from the short break between 11:30 p.m. and 27 minutes past midnight, there were no longer breaks in no other periods of disability to send the results. Now, as far as our contract is concerned, it contained software development, but also system administration of the infrastructure. TOK FM?
Kwestia wynagrodzenia.
Oh, the second question, additional remuneration for the members of the committees who had to work more. Well, in accordance with the resolution of the National Electoral Commission, the members of the district and constituency commissions get a lump sum remuneration for their works. So it's just for the entire period. There is no overtime. There are no additional days of work counted. This is a lump sum remuneration for the period during which the commissions have to work. So you're saying that the system is already working. So do you have any, even very partial data regarding the voivodeship assemblies? This is the first question. Now the second one, if the system has failed, it got suspended or generated such serious problems, apart from Director Drapiński has said, isn't there any risk that that failure could impact the reliability of the results of the elections? Aren't you sure that the system won't generate any errors in the calculations? And the last question, should I understand that, according to you, those signals from Poznań, Nidzica, Lublin, it is that the member of the commissions who are not able to operate the system, this is not the fault of the system? Well, at the beginning, I was telling you about the communication problems and the need to recalculate the results for the city and county level. I'm going to refer to voivodeship assemblies soon. The results that were calculated before 11 p.m. yesterday, when the results have been corrected, and now there are corrections introduced on the day-to-day basis. The only problem is related to the problem to the fact that the data generated yesterday may not be quite correct, and therefore it's necessary to generate this data once again. It's just the matter of pressing one button. Establish or calculate the voting results and the electoral results once again. And the representative of the electoral commissioner can enable individual persons to do so. So it's not that the commission can at the lower level can do whatever they want. They need to contact the representative of the electoral commissioner. Now, as for the voivodeship assemblies, the partial results have been given to you after midnight, if I remember. They are based on the reports sent by the powiat level commissions and from the cities with the rights of powiats. Now, determining the results of the elections to voivodeship assemblies is possible only after the results from each powiat and cities with the rights of powiat sent the results in. And these results have not been sent yet from by all the powiats and cities with powiat rights. Once this procedure is over, again, after the aggregate results, several reports regarding a given voivodeship assembly, it will be possible to determine the specific results. At microphone, please. Which failure are you referring to? Because we've been talking about the problems in the first test. We've been talking about the problem in the second test. We also mentioned the problems with logging in between 11:30 p.m. and 27 minutes after midnight. And so those errors were related with proper printing of the report. So there is and there has been continuity of work. Just printouts need to be corrected. Łukasz Konarski from Radio Z. Yet another question. Did you plan to award to yourself any additional bonuses? So this is my first question. And going back to the responsibility and liability, there were 2 years to prepare the system, because there was a 2-year period between the previous elections and this election. Don't you see any fault on your side? Well, as far as the time is concerned, we have maintained the software for the last 10 years. For the electoral platform. In 2014, we decided to upgrade the platform and extend it because the provisions of the electoral code changed, and therefore we knew that there would be many more reports from the commissions of smaller files, but more of them. So we decided to apply some ergonomic solution. We wanted to have ergonomic software, and that actually happened. Well, of course, this 10 years experience, we provided to the winner of the tender procedure. I mean, the software developer received the source codes from us and the possibility to modify that. The company who worked on our source codes didn't decide to modify them, to adjust them to the new conditions, namely to provide a fast operation for the district electoral commissions, to provide appropriate validation conditions,
wykonawca tego postępowania od wyborów uzupełniających do Senatu do wyborów samorządowych otrzymał
software
możliwość
developer
wglądu do kodu
had a
źródłowego
possibility
i
to
podjął decyzję,
get acquainted with the source
zakres
codes,
modyfikacji, dostosowań do nowych
and
wymagań
they
jest zbyt ryzykowny,
decided that
żeby
the
zmieniać
scope of the
stare
modifications
kody
would be too
źródłowe.
risky.
Mamy oto teraz możliwość, że już są dwie firmy
Now there
w
are
zakresie tak niszowego
companies
działania jak system wyborczy.
Operating in the area of electoral system. Well, but the question is, did that happen immediately after the supplementary elections to the Senate? Because you said that certain works were already undertaken. Because as far as I know, you waited. But, well, the works were continued on the system, for example, that was in operation for 10 years. I mean, such a significant modification, change, was going to take place at the end of 2013, beginning 2014. The tender procedure announced in October 2013 had to be invalidated, so we needed to pick another solution, a safe solution. And that's why we just ordered software to enable the electoral process itself. And the whole registration part, which is a big module in the entire system, was developed by our internal office. Now, to respond to the question regarding the additional money or the bonuses, ladies and gentlemen, since 1999, the National Electoral Commission has consisted of judges, and we received a lump sum remuneration in accordance with the law. There have never been any bonuses paid to members of the National Electoral Commission because there is no such legal possibility, so you should know that. Now, as for the National Office and its employees, the employees of the National Office received regular remuneration based on the contract of employment, and also there is a benefit fund that exists in all the companies. In one of the TV stations yesterday, so the IT system and the amount of 5 million zlotys. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a big misunderstanding. The IT system for these elections costed the cost of the system was 423,000 zlotys, not 5 million. But of course, we also needed to pay to the members of the electoral commissions, the representatives of the commissioners, etc. So, apart from purchases of equipment, etc., we also had remunerations of the member of the commissions. But microphone, please. And as I've said, no special bonuses are paid after the elections. I mean, the employees of the National Electoral Office, in accordance with the law of civil servants, have the right to receive additional remuneration in the case of elections. On Friday, during the first press conference, I explained that to you. We were just fighting for those additional benefits because we are talking about people who work 24 hours a day, and they are not paid the regular overtime, and they cannot get compensation for those additional hours in form of additional holidays. And the money for that was budgeted this year. Previously, we always had the money granted. This year, it has been registered, but we've never received any special bonus for the
Proszę trzy ostatnie
elections.
pytania tam pod ścianą.
The last three questions.
Ja chciałam jeszcze tylko się upewnić, czy
TVP
ci
Info,
członkowie komisji,
I
którzy jeszcze
wanted to
nawet
make sure,
dzisiaj
so
cały
those
czas
members
pracują,
of the
również nie dostają
electoral
żadnego
commissions who are working today, for example, don't get any additional money for that. They get a lump sum remuneration. Each candidate for the electoral commission needs to be aware of the fact what work this is and what remuneration will be. We don't have any right, any legal basis to provide these people with additional remuneration because they work for longer hours. And the fact that some of the commissions decided to take a break, some of them are now working again, but did the National Electoral Commission agree to those breaks? Well, we provided the territorial electoral commissions with recommendation that they should work as long as is necessary for them to receive all the reports, and that was the recommendation from the National Commission. Only when all the reports were received, but and if there were problems with the operation of the IT system, they could take a break. But there was a clear recommendation that they either need to wait for the errors connected with the printing of the reports to be corrected, or they could start counting the votes
Proszę bardzo,
manually.
dwa ostatnie pytania.
If they made another discussion, it was their own decision. Two questions. At the beginning, you said that as far as the results for the elections to the position of the commune heads, mayors, and president of the cities can be received tonight. And what about the other results? And will the system be changed in any way for the next elections coming? Well, as I've said at the beginning, we are convinced that if everything operates properly, then the official announcement of the results for the elections to local governments may happen late at night, tonight. And this will concern the commune heads, mayors, and presidents of cities, also the results of elections to commune councils, powiat councils, and voivodeship assemblies. The last question. Well, as far as the future elections are concerned, the presidential elections or the elections to the Sejm and the Senate, we will need to organize a tender procedure because the threshold of 30,000 euro is exceeded here. The company which will be able to participate in the tender procedure to upgrade this system or provide another software system will be able to either build its own system or continue the existing system based on our source codes and our experience that we'll have from the current elections. So the input for the new tender procedure for the presidential elections will be the electoral calculator software and the software that is now used for counting of the results. And this software may be modified. We already, the National Office, Electoral Office, already has two versions of the system. We already have the system that will be able to service the presidential elections. But of course, it will need to be adjusted according to the new legal regulations and also upgraded to the latest technologies. TVN24, we talked about the employees of the National Electoral Office. how many jobs are there? How many people are employed? Is this a sufficient number? And also, what is the amount of money that the National Commission has at the disposal this year, for example, and is it a sufficient amount to be able to run the elections? The National Electoral Office employs people in 4 departments here and in 49 branch offices. We have 380 jobs available there. Those were assigned to us by the Parliament. And the IT group employs 5 people, and we definitely think this is not enough. The growing tasks of the National Electoral Commission, which are translated into the tax for the National Electoral Office, require employment of more people. I mean, forgetting the IT system, because there is the central electronic register of voters that needs to be maintained. But we also need to remember about the new voting procedures to be applied, like internet voting, for example, that many organizations would like to have. So, as I said yesterday, the National Electoral Commission will definitely will devote time during more than one meeting to discuss these issues and the goals that we would like to achieve. So, the branch office that works in former voivodeships, there are 6 to 7 people employed in each branch office, and they are responsible for all the tasks related to the organization of the elections in the local areas. What we are doing here in the headquarters, they do the same at the local level. And definitely, again, the employment is not sufficient there. The tasks are growing. We also have new tasks, like, for example, the register of benefits. You frequently look at this website. Keeping such a register of benefits also requires entering new data, putting new data on the website, etc., etc. There are also many more tasks related to control of financing of electoral campaigns and political parties. And the same is happening in the local areas. After the end of the current elections, the electoral commissioners will need to accept the reports from 12,000 polling stations. And as I've said, there are 50 commissioners. And the National Electoral Commission will have to receive and analyze reports from 53 entities. There are also works on the reports going on. I mean, the work is going on the reports regarding the financing of political parties. And of course, it is necessary to review very thoroughly thousands of documents that we receive. And these are the problems that we are talking about. It's not only about the IT part, but there are also a number of issues that needs to be solved with by politicians, unfortunately. I must say, unfortunately. They decide in the Parliament how the National Electoral Commission and the National Electoral Office have to work. And unless this is properly set in the regulations, you will always blame the National Electoral Commissions. It's like even if a polling or ballot paper is printed wrongly somewhere, You are accusing the National Electoral Commission about that, but we are not responsible for this tax. There were some electoral lists missing. There were simple mistakes resulting from the lack of diligence. I mean, everything should be checked before the district commissions receive the papers. But this is not our responsibility. The fact that the ballot box was full in one place and no more ballot papers could be put in. Again, this is not our direct responsibility. I mean, we are generally responsible, but we cannot be blamed for everything. As I've said, I take the responsibility for what's happening with the IT system and with the tender procedure. Microphone, please. Yesterday, you said that the same system would be used in the presidential elections and the parliamentary elections. And then Director Duffy said that yet another tender procedure will be organized for the new system before the presidential elections and the parliamentary elections. I said yesterday that, well, the electoral system consists of central elements, as you already know. What the national office did internally is going, and prepared internally, is going to be used. But the software to be provided to the, district electoral commissions or regional electoral commissions in the case of presidential elections will have to be analyzed, whether the already existing system will be able to be used or maybe it will require modifications. And in this sense, there may be a need to develop parts of the new systems. If any company embarked on modernization of the system, they have to base their work on what has already been developed and what we have paid for. Well, you'll be able to ask more questions during the next press conference that we are going to inform you about later on. All the conferences are available on the info.pkw.pl. Thank you.